What's going on, everyone? This is Social Science Simplified, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the 2024 United States Senate elections. In 2024, all 33 Class 1 United States Senate seats will be up for grabs, along with one Class 2 Senate seat currently held by Ben Sasse from Nebraska. He will be resigning his seat to become president of the University of Florida, and the governor of Nebraska will appoint a replacement who can either choose to run for the remainder of Ben Sasse's term in 2024, or there will be another candidate running for the remainder of Ben Sasse's term. And let's get right into the video. So I'm going to zoom in on the map a little here. Alright, make sure it's locked in place, and then actually I'm going to zoom out one frame. And starting off with these safe states, like I said, this is going to be a challenging year for the Democratic Party in the Senate. Can they still hold on to a majority? Possibly. But will it be challenging? Yes. And with Debbie Stabenow's retirement, she's the senator from Michigan, with her retirement, that complicates their path to retaining a majority, just because the incumbency, especially in Senate races, is an advantage. But I'll get into that more later. Washington, safe. Maria Cantwell will win re-election by a safe margin, especially in a presidential election year. California, safe. Hawaii, safe. Maryland, Delaware, safe. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, all safe, especially in presidential election years. Like Connecticut can sometimes be like 10 to 15 points, but because it's a presidential election year, I believe it will be greater than 15 points. And then we look for other Democratic safe states. New Jersey. New Jersey was likely in 2018, but in a presidential election year, I believe New Jersey will be safe, and especially now that Bob Menendez's scandals appear to be behind him. Who knows, if anything else happens, then it could be likely, but we haven't heard anything since 2018 about Bob Menendez, so I believe New Jersey will be safe for Senator Bob Menendez. Then Minnesota will be the last safe Democratic state here, and the reason why I'm saying that is because Senator Amy Klobuchar won re-election in 2018 by 24 points, and I believe she'll win by absolutely a safe margin of victory in 2024. Now moving on to the safe Republican states, you have Utah, you have Wyoming, you have Nebraska's regular Senate election and the special Senate election, you have North Dakota. Missouri, I will put that in the safe column just because it's a presidential election year. It was either going to be likely or safe, but on the end of the region of likely where it's not that competitive. So I'll just put Missouri in the safe category there, especially because it's a presidential election year and Missouri has been safe Republican in the past few presidential election cycles. Indiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, all safe Republican states. Now we have 13 states remaining. The Republicans are at 47 Senate seats and the Democrats are at 40. And now to get into the likely states. The likely states for the Democratic Party. Virginia, Tim Kaine won by around 16 points in 2018. But I believe with the factor that it's a presidential election year and you will see higher turnout on the Republican side, he'll probably win by around 10 to 12 points. That being said, he probably will outperform the top of the ticket. He will outperform the Democrats' presidential nominee, who I believe will be Joe Biden, by a small percentage, maybe 1 to 2 points. Then another likely Democratic state, New Mexico. New Mexico has been a Democratic state for the past few election cycles, and while it's always been somewhat close in the range of 8 to 12 points, I believe that New Mexico will not be that competitive. I believe that the Democrats will win New Mexico, will win the Senate seat there, But I do believe that it will be less than 15 points, and they will have to invest some campaign resources into the state of New Mexico. And now moving on to the remaining two likely Democratic states, and those are the states of Pennsylvania and Maine. And Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey won his re-election campaign in 2018, I believe, by around 13 points. And I believe he'll have a likely margin of victory in 2024. I believe he'll outperform the top of the ticket, and he will win re-election, probably by around 5 to 8 points, just because it's a presidential election year, and Pennsylvania is a competitive state. But that being said, that is a relatively high margin of victory for a state as competitive as Pennsylvania. And then Maine, incumbent Senator Angus King is an independent, whether he runs or not, just like Bernie Sanders in Vermont, another independent. They both caucus with the Democrats, so I'm just going to put that as a likely Democratic state, just like Vermont is a safe Democratic state. Whether Angus King chooses to run for re-election or not, either he who caucuses with the Democrats or another independent who caucuses with the Democrats or a Democrat will win the Senate election in Maine by a likely margin of victory. Now moving on to the likely Republican states, and there's just one in this category, and that is Florida. I don't believe Rick Scott will do as well as Marco Rubio did in the state of Florida, especially in a presidential election year. So that's why Florida is likely instead of safe. Chances are it will be decided by around 5 points, likely margin of victory. And that is the only likely Republican state. And now moving on to the lean states, and starting off with the Democratic Party, there's the state of Wisconsin and the state of Michigan, and that is it. Michigan was initially likely, but after Senator Debbie Stabenow decided to retire, I believe that I will downgrade that to lean state for the Democratic Party, just because of the factor that there is no Democratic incumbent. However, I believe that the Democrats will still hold on to the Senate seat in Michigan, just like Wisconsin. Incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin won her re-election campaign by around 10 points in 2018, and I believe that it will be more competitive in 2024, given the dynamic that it is a presidential election year. However, I believe both Tammy Baldwin and whoever the eventual Democratic nominee for Senate is in Michigan will both win their elections in those states. And now moving on to the lean states for the Republican Party, and there's only one in this category. There are two in this category. One is Texas. Incumbent Senator Ted Cruz has a decently low approval rating, especially for a Republican in Texas, and I believe that if the Democrats find the correct challenger, they can definitely make this Senate seat competitive, and I believe that the most Ted Cruz will win by will be around 3 points. I believe his margin of victory will be less than 3 points, and I believe there will be a decent amount of split ticket voting in Texas as well, which means that there will be voters who vote for the Republican presidential nominee, but who vote for the Democratic Senate nominee, just because of Ted Cruz's unpopularity. And then the other lean state for the Republican Party is West Virginia. Joe Manchin won his re-election campaign in 2018 by around 3 points in West Virginia. However, I believe with the dynamic of it being in a presidential election year this time around, and looking at the polling numbers, how they've flipped over the past few months from Manchin being in the lead to a Republican challenger being in the lead, I believe that Joe Manchin will lose in the state of West Virginia by a similar margin that he won by in 2018. So he won by around 3 points in 2018. I believe he'll lose by around 3 points in 2024. And now moving on to the tilt states, and there are 4 of them in this column, and they are all Democratic. Starting off with Nevada, incumbent Senator Jackie Rosen defeated then incumbent Senator Dean Heller in 2018 by around 5 points. However, I believe given the election in Nevada in 2022, where we saw incumbent Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto only win her re-election campaign by around 0.8 percentage point, I believe that Jackie Rosen will have a competitive race. However, I have no doubt that she will be reelected, especially given that Nevada has trended blue on the presidential level over the past few election cycles. However, I believe that her margin of victory will be slightly narrower than that of Joe Biden's, especially because there are some voters who go into the voting ballot or go into the voting booth, take their ballot, and only vote for the presidential nominee. So I believe that Jackie Rosen, the incumbent senator from Nevada, a Democrat, will win re-election, but by less than a point. And the same goes for John Tester in Montana, but all of his races have been relatively close, and I believe this one will be no different, but I believe he will win re-election by a little bit less than a point in the state of Montana in 2024. And then in the state of Ohio, I believe incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown will be able to hang on to his Senate seat there, albeit by less than a point. He's a populist. Ohio is a populist state, and he is very supportive of working class voters, and Ohio has a significant amount of working class voters. So I believe that incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown will be reelected in 2024. That being said, it will be very competitive, and he will be reelected by less than a point. And finally, moving on to the final tilt state, and that is the state of Arizona. I believe that the Arizona Senate race in 2024 will be very competitive because I believe you'll have Kyrsten Sinema, the incumbent senator, running as an independent. I believe you will have a Democratic nominee as well and a Republican nominee. And I believe that Kyrsten Sinema will take a portion of the vote. I don't know how much. I would say it will be less than 20% of the vote that she will take, and that the Democrat will narrowly beat the Republican by less than a point. And with that being said, Kyrsten Sinema will lose, and a Democrat will be elected to the Senate from the state of Arizona. And I believe that the Democrat will get around maybe 43% of the vote. The Republican will get 42.5% of the vote, and Kyrsten Sinema will get 14.5% of the vote. And now to categorize all the states in the solid color, the party that won them. And when you do that, you see that the Republicans flip the state of West Virginia and hold on to all of their other states. And the Democrats do not flip any states, but they hold on to all of the states they currently hold, all of the Senate seats they currently hold, with the exception of Joe Manchin's Senate seat in West Virginia. Thank you for watching the video today. Please remember to like and subscribe. I hope this was informational, and I will be back with more videos soon. I hope you all have a great day.